Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare. Dandavats, Haribo everybody. Okay, so today we have a nice subject to discuss. We're going to discuss yesterday's verse that we learned in a little bit of a different way than we talked about yesterday. Yesterday we didn't get a chance to record, so for the people who are watching online, we'll also discuss some of the similar things. But we're going to discuss it in a new way today. So we had another question. So basically, if anyone has questions also, they can give the questions at the end or in the beginning and we'll discuss them. Also for people who are watching online, you can put questions in the comments and we'll address them in future videos. Okay? Comments. Yeah. All right. Comments, we will. All right. So today we're discussing the 6th verse of Vilapa Kusumanjali. We can say it all together. Vairagya yug bhakti rasam prayatner apayayang mam anabipshamandam kripam budirya paradu kaduki sanatanastam prabhum ashrayami. Okay, so in this verse, Raghunath Das Goswami is praying to his Shiksha Guru, Srila Sanatana Goswami. We heard how in the earlier verses he prayed to his Diksha Guru, Yadunandanacharya, and in the first verse that we learned, he prayed to Rupa Manjari, who is his, as you could say, Paramartik or transcendental Guru or Guru Saki in Braj. Okay? So in this verse, he's dealing with something that is applicable for all of us sadhakas or practitioners. And it's a very important lesson for us. In the first verse, Tvam Rupa Manjari Saki, it's a very high level. So it's like he's giving us the goal in the first verse. But now in the 6th verse, he's telling us something that's very important for us on our stage of practice. So we're going to go word for word, discussing the verse and its imports. So Vairagya Yug Bhakti Rasam. This is the first part of the verse. So it says Vairagya Yug Bhakti Rasam. So the essence of this part is Bhakti Rasa. Bhakti Rasa means, it means a relationship between the soul and the absolute truth or Krishna, God. So there's 5 kinds of relationships we can possess, meaning it's laden within the soul. It's within our intrinsic nature that we have a relationship with Krishna. So our process of Bhakti Yoga is awakening that relationship. That's why it ties into yesterday, because we were talking about, 2 days ago, we were talking about sleep and how to wake up. And how when we're asleep in Maya, we're in the lower levels of consciousness. In human life, we're in first budding consciousness, and then we want to go to blossoming consciousness, and then to fully blossomed consciousness. And it's all tied into this idea of the soul waking up into its spiritual existence. All right? So, where were we? So we're trying to wake up, right? So, rasa, okay? We have a relationship with Krishna that's dormant within our soul. It said, Krishna Prem Sadhya Kabunai, that Krishna Prem is Nitya Siddha, it's eternal within the soul. Pure love is a part of the soul. And we're trying to awaken that love. So how are we going to awaken that love? That's what we're going to discuss today. The process of awakening our love. Bhakti Ras means your love in your relationship with Krishna will be in some particular kind of mood or relationship. There are many kinds of moods in Bhakti. Rasa means actually many things. So rasa means you have a fixed relationship, like Mother Yashoda's fixed relation with Krishna is as a mother, Nanda Maharaj as his father. You can have a position like an assistant to Yashoda, like his mother as well, or like a father as well. Or you can have a relationship like a dear friend, like one of the cowherd boys. That's called Sakya Ras. Ultimately, what we're aspiring for is the position of the Braja Gopis in Madhurya Ras under the guidance of Srimati Radhika. So of Bhakti Ras, in the Gaudiya line, mostly we pray for this mood of Manjari Bhav, which means being the maidservant of Srimati Radhika in Madhurya Ras. Our Sthai Bhav is our attachment to the service of Radhika, and we have this Krishna Rati, which means spontaneous attraction towards Krishna. So that's our rasa. There's many other rasas also. Rasa means Vyabhichari Bhav, Sanchari Bhav, Vibhav, and Anubhav. That means that there are many, one kind of, when we experience Bhakti Ras, then when we develop divine love or awaken our divine love, we'll experience ecstasy in different forms, like choking of the voice while chanting, tears streaming forth from the eyes, hair standing on end. It said at the state of divine love, we'll become oblivious to our surroundings. We won't worry about people criticizing us in society. It said, there's a verse that says, Hasotati rotati gayati unmada eva lokabaya. At that stage, we will be dancing and singing in the street, oblivious to our surroundings, just completely enraptured by divine love. That stage is also described by Bhaktivinoda Thakur, that pagalini prai. We become as if mad, while absorbed in the ecstasy of divine love. So these are different kinds of emotions that arise when we experience prem. So we can know that we are developing in our bhakti when these emotions begin to arise. In this world, the best kind of emotion we can experience is the emotion of the closer we get to some kind of real love in this world. We can experience that real love in this world as a mother or a father for our son or daughter. And we can experience that love. And the closer we get to the purity of love, the more happiness we can also experience. So happiness and love are intertwined. We cannot ultimately be happy without relationship. Material objects can give us temporary happiness, but not eternal happiness. And also, without a loving relationship, without someone to share our experience with, then we will not truly be happy. So ananda or bliss is intricately connected to prem or divine love. In this world we have these loving relationships that are bound by matter and our mortal bodies, and so they're temporary, and they're also contaminated with selfishness or kam. So therefore they don't give complete happiness. So what we're trying to do is awaken our divine relationship with Krishna and then experience complete happiness through our loving relationship with him in these different moods. So we're not going to talk too much more in depth about ras now. That's bhakti ras. But in this verse, so bhakti ras is the anchor, the important part of the verse. But in the first lines, it said vairagya yug. So that's very important. It's not just bhakti ras. The question is, how will we experience bhakti ras? Bhakti ras means the ecstasy of our divine relationship with Krishna. So then, how do we get to that stage? So the example can be given. It's like we're standing on one side of a canyon, and in front of us there's a chasm. We're standing on the edge of a precipice, like on the edge of a cliff. And we want to get to the other side. There's like a gulf, like the Grand Canyon. There's a big gulf between where we want to get and where we are now. So the question is how to get where we want to go if we're standing on the edge of a cliff and we want to go forward. So where we are now is described to be like that. We're in samsara, which means material existence. We want to enter transcendental life and the transcendental realm. But there's a great gulf between matter and spirit. The soul is that thing which connects matter to spirit. The soul, which is that living particle of spirit, it's not material, but it's bound within matter because of mistaken identity and because of having chosen to fall away or turn away from our relationship with Krishna and try to experience reality as an independent enjoyer from him. So therefore, we're trying to get across this chasm now. What will get us across that chasm? If there's a road, we can drive on the road. But if there's no road between two sides of a cliff or two cliffs or where there's a canyon in between. So how do we get across? We have to have a bridge. So there's two questions. What is the bridge that we can go across to get to the other side? And then what is that nature of where we are now, and what is the nature of where we want to go? So on this side of the cliff, or the canyon, is a better example, is a canyon. If you know what a canyon, you have two canyons and you have the middle, where it's a canyon, right? So where we are now is called samsara. And what is the nature of our being stuck in samsara? That's called kam. Kam means material, lust, or attraction to sense objects in this world, or desire to achieve sense gratification or happiness in this world. And it's based on selfishness or self-interest without relationship to Krishna. So there's a verse in Chaitanya Charitamrita that says, Atmendriya pritivancha thare boli kam. The endeavor to satisfy one's own senses separate from Krishna, and those are material, that is called kam, material lust. So that's where we're at now. That's the state we're in. The state of being bound within matter and attached to sense objects and always trying to acquire gratification in this world through others and through objects. Like we try to, that's called selfishness. Like we want transactional relationships where, okay, you'll serve me, then I'll serve you. You love me, I'll love you. But it's based on, it's not selfless love. It's very rare or practically impossible to find unless we come to this state of prem. So prem's on the other side of that canyon where we want to get to. And how do we get there? It's called Krishnendriya Pritivancha Dari Premanam. The tendency to try to please the senses of Krishna, who is transcendental in our spiritual form, that's called prem, pure love. That if you really love someone, you'll want to serve and please them. So bhakti means, highest bhakti, uttama bhakti means that you're going to serve Krishna in a way favorable to him with the mood of trying to please him. That's called Anukulyena Krishna Anushilanam Bhakti Ruttama. That's called topmost bhakti. It's pure, it's continuous like a stream of honey, it's unbroken, it's not covered by material knowledge, material endeavors, or yoga, or anything like that. You only want to serve and please him, and that's because you have real love for him. And he, similarly, will also want to serve and be in a relationship with you. If you really love someone, then you'll want to serve them. You cannot divorce love from service. Service means an activity meant to please someone or do something. So when we are in calm, we're doing activities meant to please ourselves and our material senses. And we're under this spell of mistaken identity in this world that we think I'm this body. And that's calm. So we want to cross over to prem, which means pure divine love. And when we have that divine love, we'll experience all these ecstatic symptoms, and naturally we'll want to please him. And because we want to please him, we'll naturally serve him or try to serve him in a favorable way. So that's where we are in Kam and in Samsara, and we want to go to Braj, his own world, where that world is only permeated with pure love, prem. And that pure love is coming from Srimati Radhika. So what's the bridge? You have a question?
Yeah. Isn't there still like some selfishness in the film because you want something back that you want to love?
Okay, so the question is, isn't there still some selfishness in the desire to have a pure loving relationship? So the answer is, it's very difficult to discern the difference between, it's said that in the gopis, when they have a loving relationship with Krishna, they're experiencing unlimited happiness. More even than Krishna can experience, because they are in the mood of being the beloved and serving the lover. And Krishna is in the mood of being the receiver. So they experience more happiness actually in serving him than he does in receiving service. And it may appear like they are doing something for their own happiness, but in reality there's not even the slightest scent of personal desire there. Even though you have to understand that they're experiencing more bliss than we can even fathom, unparalleled. But the platform to get to that stage is there's no self-interest. It's only, I want to serve and please Krishna. That's real love. Real love means in this world, if you're willing to sacrifice your life for your child or sacrifice your life for your beloved, then you can say that's some level of pure love. But generally in this world, it's also still based on relationship that's mundane. But in that land where Krishna lives, there's none of that self-interest. It's said that the gopis' nature is described to be completely selfish. They say, there's a verse in Chaitanya Charitamrita that says, so I'm going fast because we don't have much time. Okay? There's a verse that says, Na jani apana duk sabi vancha tar suk amar tatparya. More jadi dile duk tar hoy mahasuk. Say duk mora sukha varya. That if it's necessary for me to experience suffering in trying to please or in pleasing him, then that suffering of mine is my greatest happiness. If it pleases him for me to suffer, then his pleasure is my happiness. And if I am suffering to please him, I don't have any idea about that. Amar tar suk amar tatbari. The only purpose of my existence is to please him. That's pure love. Okay, so now we'll just stop with this idea of the bridge. The bridge to get across this side is Vairagya. Right? We want to get to Bhakti Ras. But before we get to Bhakti Ras, Vairagya Yug Bhakti Rasam Prayatner. We have to follow Vairagya. And what is the meaning of Vairagya? Vairagya means renunciation, and you can also say Vairagya means sacrifice. It means we have to sacrifice all those things that are inhibiting us from getting to the goal of Krishna Prem. And so we have to start being introspective in our life. What are those things now that are holding me back from getting to Krishna Prem? Because unless we cross over, it's like every step we take forward, we have to sacrifice the step behind us. Or if we're attached to that step behind, then we'll stay there or we'll go backwards. So we want to progress in spiritual life. If we're attached to our previous states or lower consciousness or lower attachments, we won't be able to progress. So we have to learn to sacrifice those things. So vairagya is the process of renunciation or sacrifice of all those things holding us back from getting to the state of pure love with Krishna. And the most difficult thing to give up, but the most important thing to give up, is our mundane sense of self, our attachment to this body. And then when we're attached to this body, we develop attachments to other bodies and make relationships with others. It's like if you look at like physics, okay, you have, or molecular structure, you have the atoms, and then you have molecules. And then they grow into bigger and bigger structures. So the atom is like the soul. We have the smallest particle. Atom means the smallest particle, and that's the soul. But the soul is not satisfied to be alone. That's why impersonalism is actually a foolish philosophy, because no one wants to be alone. And therefore, from the atoms start to collect other atoms and form molecules. Even H2O, water, that's hydrogen, 2 molecules, oxygen, or 2 oxygen, hydrogen, right? So we're forming relationships in this world, and the most difficult thing to give up, but the most important thing to give up, is these attachments to material relationships and attachment to our own body. And this idea that this is myself, that's the first anartha or impediment in our life. Swarup Brahm, we've forgotten our true nature, and we're in this material illusory life. So that's why we go back to this idea of waking up. Jeev Jago, we have to wake up. And how do we wake up? We take the medicine of Harinam. We chant these names, and we follow the process. That's how we can wake up. So now there's things that we have to give up and things that we have to accept in bhakti. Okay, so that means vairagya has 2 parts. Real vairagya means, natural vairagya means when we've developed anurag. Anurag means real loving attraction and attachment. But if we're not at that stage of real anurag, that means we don't have taste yet. So we have to do something which seems difficult and we don't want to do it. So there are different things that we have to give up. And we're not going to be able to finish this whole verse today. Okay? But it's very important that Raghunath Das Goswami says, Apayang mam anubipsamandam, that I was blind and unwilling to take this, vairagya yug bhakti. But Sanatan, who is the ocean of mercy, and who is very sad to see the suffering of others, who is extremely compassionate, having mercy upon me, he forcefully gave me this bhakti ras mixed with vairagya. So sometimes, when we come to the shelter of Guru, then we submit to Guru, because if we don't submit, then first we have to offer him our independence to the degree that we offer our independence to a doctor. When we go to a doctor, we say, now I'm sick, please cure me. And the doctor will ask our symptoms and then prescribe medicine. But we don't tell the doctor what to give us. So vairagya is the medicine that Guru will give us that we may not want to take. Like a small child doesn't always want to take bitter medicine from the parents or from a doctor. But sometimes they will give us this bitter medicine even if we're not willing to accept or not ready to accept. And it's only out of their mercy. Because they're the ocean of mercy, even though it may be painful for us, they'll give us this medicine because it's necessary for us in order to become cured. Like if we want to taste Krishna Prem, it's like the essence of all sweet nectar. But if we're very sick, we cannot taste sweet nectar without becoming more sick. So we have to take some medicine in order to become cured, and then we can relish that divine nectar. So vairagya means, what we're trying to say is that in this verse it's shown that we're not always strong enough on our own, without help, to perform vairagya. So Das Goswami says that apaya mam anubipsamam, I was blind and unwilling to take this, but still, because he was so merciful and so compassionate, he gave it to me by force. But by force means they won't act against our will, our free will. God gives us free will, and to take someone's free will is a great sin. You could say the greatest sin. So they don't give it by force without any of your free will. What it means is that when you approach Guru and Vaishnavas, or when you pray, sometimes we think they're giving me some medicine or lesson in life which I didn't ask for and which I don't want. But if we prayed at one point in our life that, oh, please deliver me, or please free me, or please, I really want to come to you, then he may have to arrange to cut off different attachments that may be very painful for us. But if once there was this will or the prayer that, oh, please accept me, please let me come to you, then Krishna will start his surgery and he'll send people to help us. Or when we approach and take shelter of Guru and surrender to Guru, then Guru will start this process also. So we'll stop here and we'll discuss further about this subject tomorrow. Panchakalpadurivasya kripa sindhu vyavacha plitanam pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo namo namo.